Hello and welcome to Weekend Deal. The conversation started yesterday and our focus has been on gender-based violence. It was quite interesting and a whole lot of situations were thrown up. Today our conversation continues and it is Weekend Deal coming to you from the network service of the NTA. My name is Patience Eloy Abba. Yesterday you were amazing, your messages kept pouring in. Let's do it again today. Selma is sitting here so elegantly, I don't even know how to describe her.
Patience, yes, really, it's not a laughing matter. Like we often do, let's hit the ground running. Gender violence undermines the dignity, the health, the security and autonomy of its survivors and victims, and is still shrouded in silence. It strips many of their dignity, their confidence. If you're not careful, it could strip you of a great future. But they are survivors. And Uju weaves a very in-depth narrative today, working with a survivor who, against all odds, is standing with an ailment, though. Uju, please share.
Please, have mercy on me.
The horror, the scars, the scares, the devastation, the destruction. Gender violence on Weekend Deal takes a close look at the more than a quarter of women across the globe, aged 15 to 49 years, who, for the reason of being in a relationship, coming from a place of vulnerability, have to go through the scar and the scare of gender violence. Living with the horror and stigma, yet rising above the storm.
Why the scars? Why the violence? I found out a few, and I'm going to speak to some so they tell us what they've gone through. Let's see how the problem can be solved.
I was giving out at the age of 6 to my aunt. The aunt I stayed with, she sold alcohol. So you know the environment where people selling alcohol is like for female children. The husband to the aunt I was staying with, he had so much hatred for me. He didn't like the fact that I was staying with them. They stay in a story building, so he kicked me from upstairs and I landed from there outside. So after some time, I got very sick. Then my mom said they should bring me back. When I got to the village, I think I was around the age of 14, only to realize that my mom was forcing me to get married to one old grandpa around 70 something years old. I enjoyed reading books. I got the privilege of reading storybooks, and inside the story you read where the girl suffered, went to school, then graduated, got married, got a good job, and lived happily. That was what I had in mind for myself. And being forced to get married, I knew that that would become a disaster for my future. The little money I had with me, I took a bold step. I went to Lagos to meet an uncle. He introduced me to a lady. She said her name is Joy, and that my uncle has told her about me, that I like school so much. On getting to her place, that was when I realized that everything I was told before coming to Abuja was a lie. I was working with the woman and grandpa stayed as house help. While eating leftovers, most times it's me and the dog and the security that are allowed to eat some kind of food. I realized I developed breast lumps. It was painful and I was always running high temperature. So the husband of the woman came and told me that they were going to send me back to the village. I pleaded with them because I knew what I ran away from for the village. If I go back to the village, that's going back to square one. Definitely, I'll have to get married to the man I ran away from. So I pleaded with them, let me go to Dunamis Church. When we spoke to him, then he said, okay, that the church would award me a scholarship. Then they will find a place for me to stay. Then a sister that volunteered, she works with the welfare department and she cleans the church too. She just volunteered that she was going to house me, that let them pay her the allowance that the church has approved for my upkeep. She started bringing men to the house, but because I refused talking to them, she would get angry. Then one very day, I just came back from school and I met my things packed up and thrown outside her house. She already locked her door. So I asked the neighbors, they said that she said I should come and meet her in the church when I'm back. I should pack my things and leave her place. The breast lump and everything I was battling with was still there. The pain was always there, but there was really no medical intervention. Not until one particular time, I didn't go to school for about 3 months. So the school patron, the fellowship patron then called and said, have you finally been thrown back to your village? I said no, that I was still in Abuja selling a church card. He said, hey, quickly come to Barimpa Estate. I located the address. That was Watcliffe. So that was how Watcliffe took up the case.
You know where you are, you're in Watcliffe office. And I can assure you, your problem will be solved.
Then they involved NAPTIP. Then they took me to the hospital. They paid for the surgery that removed the lumps from me. We were taught how to make chin chin and puff puff. I started selling okrika clothes. I started experiencing paralysis. I'll be walking, suddenly I'll just fall, or I'll just experience loss of memory. I don't really recognize people around. So I reached out to the organization and the fellowship body then. They took me to the hospital. After back and forth, going to different hospitals, finally I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis.
It is We Can Deal on the network service of NTA. Let us deal with gender violence.
Welcome back and well done, Uju. Okay, now joining our conversation is our first guest, a victim, but I'd rather call her a survivor.
Yeah.
She is now a gender advocate and she's doing so much as far as gender-based violence is concerned. Let's meet our guest virtually.
It's a privilege to have Miss NTA with us in the studio today, and we'll get to meet her in just a minute. For now, Benin is joining our conversation, and the focal point is on education and empowerment, especially as it relates to gender empowerment after the violence.
Rape, stalking, battery, sexual violence, human trafficking. These are the echoes of violence which are imminent.
This is what you bought from the market? 100,000 naira. Okay, watch me now.
What are you doing?
Show you what I'm made of.
You will not try to open this door.
What do you do with the money?
Where are you
What
going
type
to?
of woman are you? What sort of woman are you? Come out here. Come out here.
Eradicating gender-based violence has never been more crucial.
Nobody should be abused physically, emotionally, financially, because at times when we don't look at the emotional side, that's why a lot of people, you see people commit suicide. You see people, they don't have value for themselves. So you see a young girl that has been brutalized severally, she then goes out and she sees herself as cheap.
Take your bag. I don't want to see you again.
The scope of violence has been expanded in this law. In time past, we used to look at only physical, when you inflict physical injury on a person. That was the only thing we knew as gender-based violence. But today, we have economic violence, we have emotional violence. You tell your child you can never do well. These are issues that we regard as violence.
Authorities say gender-based violence is a phenomenon deeply rooted that must be addressed.
Most of the violence we talk about is actually domestic violence, and that's where gender-based violence, mostly against women, has its roots, and where it thrives is actually in the home. Yes, there's violence against the women in the workplace, especially those who are uneducated or have a low-paying job. They are more liable to, or more able to accept violence against them as a way of life.
Domestic violence is worse, and at the end of the day, most of the women end up having to plead for their husbands. They don't want us to take the matter to court. They don't want us to arrest the man. It's just to caution him. Then he come and sign undertaking.
The impact of education, authorities say, on gender-based violence is a work in progress. In Edo State, human trafficking remains the most publicized act against persons. Initiatives and empowerment programs are commonplace as parts of efforts to reintegrate victims to a normal life.
At the last Alawodaro Women's Summit, the First Lady actually said that there's actually also gender-based violence in politics.
If you go to the Gender-Based Violence Center in Edo State, we have people, the psychologists and the sociologists, they deal with trauma management and counseling. But thereafter, there are some of them that need empowerment. Of course, the Ministry of Social Welfare, they empower these vulnerable persons. People not being economically empowered is the first sign that you are susceptible to being abused.
As the campaign against acts of gender violence continues, citizens and governments are encouraged to key in and build a healthy society.
Okay, welcome back. For just joining us, it is We Can Deal, and our focus is on gender-based violence. Our guest is here. She is NTA. I called her a survivor for a reason, but I will let her tell her story. You're welcome to the Weekend Studios.
Thank you so much, NTA, for always amplifying the issues for response. Thank you. We are grateful.
Honestly, the least we can do. Speaking out is the least we can
Very
do.
important.
And we will continue to speak out.
Thank you.
So tell us, we called you a victim or a survivor, sorry.
A survivor.
What is your story?
Yeah, too many stories. You can see your report, fantastic report, and everything, you very professional. If you look at the different survivors, even the victims, you find that they are spent, that they don't look their age because of the trauma they carry. The first confrontation I had was, I was married up before my 9th birthday. What was the reason? Oh, this girl is beautiful. She doesn't need to be disvirgined by any person other than her husband. So I was giving up to a teacher in my primary school in the village. How old was he, ma'am? He should be about 30, getting to his 40s. So you can look at the age gap. You know, at some point he had to smuggle me when I finished my primary school, at the last set that I did primary 7. Smuggled me to Effiong, around a border state, between Benue and Ebonyi State. You know, so, and I was subjected to obligations of a full-blown housewife. So this is a baby being subjected to the obligations of a housewife, including biological obligations, which is terrible. Introducing a girl to A baby, not a
No, a
girl
baby,
now.
honestly.
Was he taking you out for functions, meeting his family and all that? Or you were hidden?
You know, because we live in the same community, initially, when I was in school, I was just going to the family house to sleep. What did I know? You know, so it's one of the worst source of abuse. Because you are taking the childhood, it's a stolen childhood.
You had no childhood.
Credit snatching in all its ramifications.
And you holding the person hostage, caging the potential in the person to be able to express himself or herself, because when you are supposed to be playing with your peers, because you are a married woman, you are expected to exercise
so
caution.
yourself differently.
That most times these victims don't come out. Now, the police officer here told us the story of a woman who was abused, and she came to report, and quickly they took the matter to court so that she can get justice. And on reaching the court, she came and said, I love my husband. Or some girls are raped, they can't come out. What are you doing, Abi, your organization doing in that regard, making sure that victims can stand strong and say, this is what happened to me?
Yeah, let me quickly, I'll respond to that, but let's go to the issue of appropriation. This is an act of parliament. The National Assembly, the State Assembly, and the local government, the councillors, they owe stakeholders the responsibility of appropriation, of oversight and constituency. It means in all their constituency offices, they are supposed to have a desk officer dealing with this so that they can report to them. We've not been able to see that because we would have been able to see the National Assembly visiting NAPTIP to say, oh, what is the problem with the appropriation? Though it is their own question to respond to. So that on its own has been the problem. So before they go out to the private sector, go to other philanthropies, individuals, groups, sociocultural groups, which you are every religious bodies.
Yes.
The national budget, the appropriation is so appropriate. It's a public accounting behavior that is appropriate. So you do first, put down the seed money, then others can
work.
So it's very important. Then back to your question.
We have to do that quickly.
Okay. Your question, sorry, the question again.
Okay, I said, what are you doing to make victims come out boldly?
Yeah, victims cannot come out as long as there's no structure to support them. Of all the structures we have talked about, the response committee, that is the small group that push for this, the shelter, they even responding to their needs after the court processes, going to court, like Dorothy Njemanze Foundation has been doing extremely well. Whatcliff, NAPTIP itself has a shelter. Accompanying them to court is very draining. You can see how I'm looking. It takes so much. And as long as the trauma that accompanies this stress, this violence is not dealt with, if you don't resolve that trauma sufficiently, you will not be able to get to where you need to be. And the question too is that who is budgeting for the trauma resolution that people will be doing?
Okay.
So it's a big challenge
we
for
need
us.
to rest our conversation here.
Hi.
Miss
So many things.
Miss NTA, we thank you so much. What you have done today has been phenomenal.
Thank you.
You may count it small, but it's huge.
Thank you.
It's making great impact, not just on us who are here, everyone who's watching you from the entire country and beyond. I want to thank you. I want to urge you to do more.
Thank you.
We know
so
you are
much.
doing a lot. We say do more.
Carry on
and
the
more
good
women
work.
will follow you.
Thank
Please
you.
continue to change the narrative.
Thank you.
Well done, ma. Thank you so much. We must go to Calabar this time and let's talk about trauma and healing, just what we're talking about here. That trauma that happens with the survivor or the victim is huge and it must be dealt with if they can begin to take positive steps into the great future that should be theirs. Calabar, please share.
Gender-based violence is a phenomenon deeply rooted in gender equality, and it continues to be one of the most noticeable human rights violations within all societies. Research also indicates that women in Kosovo State and across the world, regardless of age or indication, are subject to physical abuse, rape, and sexual abuse. Sexual and gender-based violence is a global pandemic that affects 1 in 3 women. These women continue to suffer all forms of degradation and deprivation in public and private, yet refusing to speak out for fear of stigmatization and lack of ability to sustain themselves economically, as such affecting them psychologically.
I married at the age of 40. We have been managing life. From that little time, we were living very okay. We were having nothing. All of a sudden, the house became violent. Beatings every day, beatings here and there, one thing or the other, became very jealous. I don't know of nothing. I can't talk to anybody. I can't discuss with anybody. If I should discuss with any woman, the woman is leading me to a man. If I should discuss with any man, the man is sleeping with me. The house is uncomfortable, everyday beatings. The punishment and others. One child, my first child, died.
It was one of those Children's Day celebration, and I was at the stadium, but I was looking for my very good friend. I saw her brother, her older brother. I told him I wanted to see the sister, that she said she was going to take me home. So he told me, actually tricked me, that he knows where the sister was and that I should follow him to where the sister was. And he took me to one house that the sister is in that compound. He went outside, came back and told me, oh, she's coming. That she said I should take a Coke and wait. Yes, as young as I was, I took the bottle of Coke. I was waiting. I don't know for how long. Realized myself was somebody was on top of me. In fact, I didn't even realize that what he was doing was, rape. I just didn't know. All I know was that I was feeling excruciating pains.
The question is, what effort has the government, ministries and feeders put in place to assist the survivor to overcome this trauma?
The VAP law was signed into law in December 2021. Since then, we have been using that VAP law to fight for the rights of survivors. Because of this law, we have other CSOs, we have other organizations who are also protecting the rights of these victims.
I will shock you that we have a gender-based violence center where we have people that are suffering from this violence. We have hotlines that they can report to the ministry, and we have qualified staff that are always there to give them the counseling. Emotionally, they are down, but by the time they visit the Minister of Women Affairs, you see that after the counseling, you begin to see them regaining back, wanting to unite into the society and bringing them back to make them feel normal, that they are the same people.
Survivors are advised to take advantage of essential services such as medical and legal services, as well as other available recommended options.
Healing them, I will say, is a healing process. They are healed and start to come back out of themselves to reunite into the society.
You are being hidden or locked into a room that you cannot share. The psychological effect is more. Or if you're out there and you're sharing with people, and then you hear from people who have similar experiences.
We can end this menace together if we join hands, take action, and decide to speak out now.
I came to GVV here for them to assist me.
Proactiveness in their dealings. I think I've seen commitment. I came here yesterday, they swung into action by writing to the accused person.
The first person I spoke to, that auntie that I spoke to, she tried so much to assist me in terms of trying to ensure that I have a positive outlook.
Speak up. Let this plague be taken away. The choice to this is yours. And now.
Again, the issue of speak up comes up. We cannot afford to be silent. Okay, so we'll go to NTA Kaduna as we look at the role of media in gender violence.
The world indeed is becoming a global village, with people increasingly dependent on digital technology for social interactions, making it easy for perpetration of harm against people or persons because of their gender through the use of technology.
Gender-based violence, which is GBV, is a global phenomenon that has to do with violation of human rights of women, girls, and other people, negatively targeting their gender identity or gender expression. So when we talk about technology-facilitated violence, it's an enhancement of gender-based violence, which has to do with use of technology to perform abuse and violence.
Social media can be said to be the major means with which technology-based gender violence is carried out.
Just to explain few of the online violence. First, we have the online harassment. The perpetrators or the abusers use online tools such as social media, email, and other online communication platforms to perform their violence or their abuse. So, using these technologies, the perpetrators can try to threaten their victims. So talking about cyberbullying takes many forms, which include sending of abusive comments, messages to their targets. Lastly, we have the online deepfake AI. So using deepfake AI, technology like AI is a trending technology and emerging technology, which has a lot of benefits. For example, we use AI for assistant to perform day-to-day activities, and the AI can also be misused by the perpetrators, such as the creation of non-consensual images or videos. For example, if someone can just upload a video on this deepfake website, and they try to create a fake image of you, digital version of you. So this have implication both physically and also psychologically. And one major effect is what? Silencing effect.
The effects of technology-based gender violence can be devastating to victims.
Even the use of language on the social media, it goes a long way in encouraging gender-based violence. People share all sorts of harmful stereotypes about a group of people, about individuals that could lead to this. If we're able to identify this, and then we have a regulation that says, okay, when some of these social medias now have these regulations that when you make statements that could actually lead to gender-based violence, you are being sanctioned. And I always tell people, you never can trust anyone, especially when it comes to issues about intimacy. So it is very important that we educate people about this and also make them understand that it is okay to speak out. And then society have to stop the stigmatization thing, because it makes people not to even speak out when things like this happen. So in a nutshell, all we need to do is to, one, regulate the activities of people, if possible, on the social media platforms, and then use technology to disseminate information to people about the dangers of gender-based violence, and also encourage them to speak out and use the same technology to provide resources and support to survivors of gender-based violence.
The government need to provide a platform where those victims affected can report their incidents. Some of the platform that, for example, in Nigeria, we have the report GBV, the gender-based violence report. Gender-based violence is a platform where those victims can be able to report their violence. Lastly, individuals also need to play a role in terms of combating gender-based violence. For example, enabling of privacy and security on all social platforms and applications, and also be careful of the information you share online. Secondly, report any incidents or any form of abuse that you have come across, whether to you or to another person that you might know.
Reporting to the appropriate authorities is critical. Speak up and speak out ASAP. Immediately it happens. Sometimes patients, we get to find that perpetrators are able to instill fear in victims.
Because silence is their weapon. Silence is their weapon.
People will hide heavy incidences.
Yes.
And by doing that, they're enabling this devious, evil character to continue to do more of what he or she is doing. The silence must stop. Don't shroud anyone. Speak up and speak out. Let's meet our next guest. She is Miss Aderonke Ogunleye Bello, the Executive Director of Fame Foundation. She is here with us. It's great to welcome you on Weekend Deal.
Yeah, thank you so much
Ms.
for having me.
Aderonke Ogunleye Bello, Executive Director of Fame Foundation. Now let Patience set the ball rolling.
Okay, and I will start with what is Fame and what is it about?
Okay, Fame Foundation is a gender-focused NGO based in Abuja. It's actually an acronym for Female Advocacy, Mentoring and Empowerment.
Oh, okay.
So we take care of all the needs of women.
Okay, so what has been your experience meeting these women and their situations?
Yeah, working with women is fantastic. It is you learn and unlearn in the process, and at the same time you make them despite the fact that you are the one trying to help them, we also make them walk along with you to support. As we support them, we ensure that they also support other women. So our style at Fame is train the trainers, you know, help one to help all. If you're getting support, psychosocial support, for example, you're supposed to also transfer it to another woman. That has been our style.
Okay. Tell us about what is happening now. The level of violence is on the increase. From what you find, what triggers, is there anything that sets this thing ablaze? What is happening with this violence? Let's take FCT, for example.
I think there is no excuse for violence. You know, people always say, what's the cause? Why? There is no excuse for violence. Excuse me. You don't have any excuse. Some people go like, okay, you're sick, you're frustrated. Maybe people with mental health issues and all of that. You can take medications. Mental health issues is not like, it's not the end of the world. It can be managed. We have professionals that can help you to manage it. So you don't have any excuse to even say you're abusing someone. Yes. So there's no excuse. But it has really tripled since COVID. COVID-19 did not do well to a lot of women, especially, and young girls and boys as well. They are locked down with the perpetrators in the same house. And so since COVID, it has tripled. And after COVID, the rate dropped a little because people had to go back to work and all of that. And yeah, COVID did not really, it didn't do well for us, especially in terms of
So
GBV.
the craziness has reduced now?
A little after COVID, but COVID was the high,
all high.
All high.
Okay, so somebody said something. You said there's no excuse, but I also agree there's no excuse. But let's read from a viewer who says, I am not a violent person, but most times women can bring out the beast in you. I caught my wife cheating, and yet I still embraced her back into the home. But yet she is behaving strange and frustrating. Do you think her behavior alone can't trigger domestic violence? What should I do?
Okay, so let's say reverse is the case. They always say it's the men's word. I disagree. Of course, we live in a patriarchal society. We should not forget that. And we are fighting for equity and equality. We don't say we want to be head of the men, but we want to be your partner working alongside with you. Equality. So when you're now said you are the head of the home and your wife cheated, what if she caught you? Would she beat you up? What would you have done differently if we turn the ball around? That's number one. Number two is that what are you supposed to do? She's cheating, she's nagging. Do you still want the marriage? Then why not go for counseling? Go for counseling. We are traditional people in this country. Why not have a meeting with family? If you cannot go for counseling, not everybody knows that they need to go for counseling. There are marriage counselors and all that. Why not get family members to get involved, the elders to just talk, say your mind, look at their own. So Can we sort it? And not, if not, I'm sorry to say this, and maybe I'm not sorry to say this, everybody can find their way if it's not going. So why is she cheating?
It's not going well.
Yeah, so instead of you to beat her to death, or instead of you to
let her
leave
go.
her,
It's not a do or die.
Yeah, because a woman that is abused, a woman that is abused, we have PTSD, she will be traumatized. Do you want a damaged woman to train your kids? So instead of you to keep on abusing her and making her to be a damaged, angry, bitter woman that could transfer it to your children,
let her go.
Let her go.
Let her go. It's simple. There are not two ways of looking at it.
So before you abuse a woman, do you want damaged women in society?
Some cases now we've heard of when these cases, people are talking about shelters being inadequate, talking about trauma centers being inadequate, even volunteers are inadequate. But that is one aspect. We're now looking at beyond that. How many people, survivors, so to speak, are able to take the narrative beyond being rescued to bringing justice upon perpetrators? Where are we with that?
Okay,
is the foundation involved in that?
Okay, so some days ago, I was just talking to the lawyer there. I was talking. What are you doing? I was just telling to the lady that brought me in. I was just saying to her about what happened some days ago. NAPTIP. This woman brought this girl from Niger State to Abuja, I think last year, September, according to the girl. And it was a neighbor that entered us. We now went to her school to pick the girl. Her body, she had scar of belt wound, deep wound that had inside her lap, back, all over her body. It was really a bad sight. And you know what? This woman made this girl to wear sweater. So
she knows it is wrong.
Yes, she wears sweater all the time. So I saw her wearing this white dirty sweater. So we got there and immediately we took her with the police to NAPTIP. Thank God the current DG of NAPTIP is just a sweetheart. She has really done a whole lot. I don't know her personally, but based on what people are saying, NAPTIP is more organized now and they are more effective. We got to NAPTIP and immediately the people that saw it started shouting.
Oh my goodness.
That madam, what is this? They were shouting, like in the video, it's really, I mean, bad video, bad. I showed the video at first, then we took the girl to the toilet, they opened her body and all of.
And they saw things.
Yes, scar, it's everywhere.
So
we need to empower women, because a woman that is empowered will not, no matter what, one day you walk away.
Her thinking changes,
yes,
right? But there's something I want you to wrap up with.
She went back and she did a video. I'm saying she did a video to rubbish us. That she never said the man was in SAS. They locked that police station in Gariki. Is it FI?
Okay, he was locked up though.
He was locked up. No, he was really high level.
Yes.
And locked up for like 3 weeks, started crying everywhere. Her husband should come back home. They should give her husband. She's not doing case again. They should have the video that she's withdrawing everything. I had a video. Withdraw everything. This NGO, they are the one telling me what to say. I was like, you walk to us. You walk up to us. I don't even know you from Adam.
This is where we wrap it. This is where we wrap it. Thank you so much. You are always phenomenal. I like that fire. Keep on making changes. We need changes. We must change the narrative. Thank you for working for victims and survivors. Keep pushing the envelope. Keep changing the story. We wish you well and your foundation. And anytime you need volunteers, please.
Where can they locate you? Can you tell people asking for your office everywhere? People want your office.
We are in Gariki area 1. Okay. If they go on Instagram, Fame Foundation, you see our website is famefoundationwg.org. Famefoundationwg.org. Once you go to the website, once you open the website, something will pop up, a message. Just click that chat with us. It will come to WhatsApp.
Okay, we'll get the address and send it via feedback line. Yes. Thank you so much. A break beckons on Weekend Deal. Don't you dare go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Welcome back. Hell, it was an amazing session there with Aderonke, where she brought in the fire and she's ready to protect the women. Now, what is the role of men in combating gender-based violence? Are they just sitting down and folding their hands? Let's go over to NTA server and see exactly what their situation is.
Every human being's greatest desire is to love and be loved. What then happens when those who are meant to love you turns one's life into one of untold pain and hardship? This is the reality of so many women who are stuck in a life of violence at home and abroad. Although men are also abused emotionally, physically, and otherwise, statistics say the numbers of women and young girls who are abused daily far outweighs that of the male folks. So far, we have about 229 cases in Delta State, and by the grace of God, we have secured 24 convictions. Some have been jailed, and so we are fighting against it. We have our hotlines as a ministry. They should contact us, and immediately we'll swing into actions. They can also contact FIDA. As soon as they do that, police will get them arrested. The Ministry of Justice charge them to court, and then the ministry sponsors.
One thing that will stop this trend is when this gender has been violated, take the bull by the horn and say they are not willing to take this anymore. Neighbors can report, but while they are reporting, they should also be able to convince the person being violated to follow through, because that person's evidence in court is very, very important to secure conviction. Personally, I feel it's only weaklings that finds joy in beating up their wives. I condemn it in totality, and I advise men too to condemn it.
The father can make sure that he's in charge of the home and parent his daughter and his sons properly. So that's a role for the man. There's a role for the man. And then the man himself that is now married, he should know that it is uncalled for. It's very, very unnecessary for him to ever raise his hand on his wife. So women are really very violent. The role of the man in reducing this kind of fight to exist, once the anger, once the quarrel is starting, walk away.
Research say there is a big correlation between domestic violence and human trafficking, as they are perpetrated with the use of force, coercion, and deceit. What then is the society doing about this, and whose responsibility is it to ensure this is reduced drastically?
Create a forum whereby people can have access to that agency that has a legal team, sound legal team, that neighbors can report. Families can report with proof. There be a separate arm in the police force, in the legal team that will work under this agency. By the time they see that in every state they've handled a good percentage of it, it will help to reduce it. So I think with the agencies and proper monitoring of what is happening around it, we help to combat it.
There is a very big link between gender-based violence and human trafficking. If one is satisfied and finds love within his family, I don't think there will be any reason for him or her to go outside and fall prey to those predators out there. As a father, as a brother, as an uncle, we should live by example. You don't hit your wife. I don't think your son will grow up to bully or lay hands on his girlfriend or his wife.
Combating human trafficking and gender violence is everyone's business, as security is a collective responsibility. It is our duty to keep everyone around us safe and loved. If you see something, please say something.
We have come to learn that the abusers or perpetrators have a way of devastating their victims. They pull you down, they devastate you, they downgrade you to the point that your esteem is at an all-time low. And that's how you can become incapacitated when you ought to speak up. But in spite of that, you must realize that what is being done to you is abnormal. It's an anomaly. So speak out. If you even find that someone is treating you in a funny way, find somebody to tell. Tell a neighbor, tell a friend. Go to the next shop and speak out. There will be somebody somewhere who can bring about the change that you greatly need. Let's welcome our next guest. He's Barrister Okane Emmanuel. Welcome to Weekend Deal.
It's a pleasure. Thank
to
you.
This very inspiring, narrative-changing conversation and discourse. We are talking because we want change. Patience, right?
Yes, exactly.
We want change.
Exactly, want change.
But first of all, let's look at your own profession. You know, what do you find? We hear that this act is on the rise and it's coming in ways we least expect or have assumed will come in our time. People are doing amazing things to hurt and devastate people. Tell us, what is it like for you on a daily basis?
Well, as a legal practitioner, and then I practice here in Abuja, you go to court every day, and then you see issues, cases of gender-related abuses. But I wouldn't just say female gender-related abuses. It cuts across both the male and then the female gender. But for the male gender, it is in the minority. You have cases where female or women, batter men, just like the other guest said.
Yes.
They batter men, cases of acid baths.
Acid bath?
Yes.
As in who beats who?
I've handled
acid
a case
baths?
I've handled a case where a woman, over the night poured acid over the husband and melted him.
Aye. Is he alive?
Melted. He died as a result of that.
Aye.
And then the woman was put on trial and eventually convicted. But that is in the minority.
Does she have a mental health issue?
No mental health.
Okay.
No mental health.
Just anger?
No mental health, just anger issues and all that. Now, but that is in the minority. In the majority, you have situations where women are heavily battered by men. Children and then adult women are heavily battered by. Every day you see that in courts.
Are there cases where women too can stand up and say, because some women also are the one, maybe they put the structure, they built the shelter where the family
they're the breadwinners.
Because it seems as though maybe because I'm the one bringing the bulk of the resources, I can tell my partner to go to her father's house. So does it also occur where women say, I need some space here in this house. I think I'm huge now. I want to use this space by myself. Oga, can you step? Maybe you take the kids too. Does it happen? Have you ever had kids like that?
Yes, it does happen, and it happens. And then that's why VAPA Act protects not just the women, it protects equally the men. That you can send your spouse. The Act uses spouse and didn't delineate it to whether a man or a woman. Once you send your spouse out of your matrimonial home without support of any kind, it's penalized. Yes.
Oh, wow. What is the consequence of that?
Well, jail term.
Jail term.
Yes. Jail term.
Okay. I wish my learned friends success in that regard.
Honestly.
Patience, for now we're going to Abuja.
Okay.
It's also part of this conversation. Let's see what's happening over there in Ogun State.
More recently, a paradigm shift can be seen in gender-based violence in both rural and urban communities, in which the fair sex and a male counterpart abuse one another. Factors responsible for gender-based violence include infidelity, complexities in unions, interference of family in relationship, social and economic factors resulting in nagging, especially in marital relationships, to mention but a few. What solution can be proffered to gender-based violence in both rural and urban communities?
The solution is simple. Let's take poverty away. Of course, there will always be poor people, but let people be poor because they choose to, not because of the economic, the situation of the society. A very good example is what we are passing through right now, in where the fuel money just skyrocketed by 300%, and there's no solution. And what you've been buying before, you cannot buy it again. So people will do all sorts of things to survive. And when you listen to what some people do, though that's not a reason to justify all those violence attitudes, and but at least if poverty can be elevated, if people can, this poverty effect can be cushioned, at least some people will still be rescued.
In rural and urban communities in Nigeria today, gender-based violence has its peculiarities, and they are tackled differently. Considering methods of conflict resolutions in rural and urban centers in Nigeria, which can be taken as panacea or ideal.
If any case is brought before us, we will speak with the husband first. Then we will advise him to invite the wives. If we could not see the in-depth of that case, we will still go further to invite the children. in the traditional way, there used to be jealousy among women. From there, we will gather some information, either from the wives, from the children, but we will not stop there. We will still go further to the extended families who we believe will give us the details of what is happening in that family.
In concluding this production, the puzzling question remains: can gender-based violence be eradicated?
Indeed, I would answer that question. Gender-based violence can be eradicated if we do it together, if we speak up together and say no together, if we stand together, we can eradicate. Okay, so many messages are coming. Thank you for your messages. Somebody said, Barrister, he said, my wife ran away with our only daughter and my properties. Okay. She took me to feed her and told them she is no longer interested in the marriage and has also denied me access to my child. I have never raised my hand at her. Please, I need to have audience with you. What can I do? Somebody's writing and wants you. What can he do? He said he has never beaten her. She just made that choice and ran away. So will he seek legal redress? What should he do? Whoa, so many messages. Honestly, I don't even know. So just react to that.
Well, in this instance now, just like the message said, the law equally protects the man whose wife, left with the children. You have legal remedies. Courts can give you protection of being access to these children, and is equally against the law for your where you've not carried out any act of violence against your wife to bolt away with your child or your children from the matrimonial home too.
But that's
There's legal remedy.
Has, though.
Yeah.
That's what against has. We've learned that there are so many other kinds of violence beyond the hitting of there are things that the violence does not show physically.
Yes. So women.
But I do hope they can get it sorted.
Definitely.
We want more couples. We want families to stand together.
Well, in as much I'll say something. In as much as we want families to stand together, some families are actually sick. It's not a do or die affair. Yes, if you know you are going to lose your life, run from that marriage.
Being applied today.
We need to wrap up the conversation now. We thank you, Barrister Okani Emmanuel. It's been engaging. We are learning. We'll keep spreading the word of what we have learned and hope that our learned friends do more for victims and survivors. You are watching Weekend Delay. Break beckons. We'll be back. Don't go away.
Thank you.
We're still talking about the greatness and progress of Nigeria, Africa, the continent, and the world. Let's meet Malamamu Jega. He's a former editor of New Nigerian newspaper, former editor of Daily Trust, but currently is an editor of 21st Century Chronicles, an online media journal narrative, bringing forth great news and gist for the world. Welcome to Weekend Deal.
Thank you very much.
Very interesting antecedent. We're talking about the ECOWAS and Heads of State Summit.
Yeah.
Tell us, what's been happening?
Well, the authority of the heads of state and government of ECOWAS is billed to meet in Abuja today.
Yes.
I think they have started arriving already. Usually this meeting takes a day. And one of the issues that is likely to be on the front burner is the issue of Niger Republic. As you remember, there was a coup in Niger Republic in July, and ECOWAS took strong measures, suspended the country, and not only Niger Republic, 3 other West African ECOWAS, Mali, Guinea Conakry, and Burkina Faso were also suspended. And in the particular case of Niger Republic, ECOWAS also imposed sanctions, of which Nigeria has been in the forefront because we have this very long border with Niger Republic, and our president is also the chairman of ECOWAS, so he has to take active measures. And we close the border with Niger Republic and even cut off electricity supply. And at one point, ECOWAS was also threatening military action against the coup leaders in the Niger Republic. It is noticeable that in recent weeks, they have toned down the threat of military.
The narrative is changing.
Yes. They have toned it down. They didn't officially say they have taken it off the table because it sounded like a softening of position. Maybe now there is no more insistence that they must restore the former president to his rule. But certainly the ECOWAS will be insisting on a quick restoration of constitutional rule in the country. And the problem is that for now, the Niger coup leaders do not even have any credible transition plan.
They said 3 years. They were saying they need 3
years.
That
they need 3 years.
And ECOWAS says no.
3 years.
3 years to transition.
If you give them 3 years, in fact, they will probably never leave because the 3 years of in Mali they did the same thing. As the period approaches, they now find another way to prolong it.
But sir, but sir, what's going on in the African West region? Why are we having these military juntas spring up? What is going on? Can you just speak to that?
Honestly, it is a very sad development because since the 1990s, West Africa and Africa generally began to shed military rule and revert to constitutional rule. I remember as a young reporter, I was in Niger Republic in 1991 when they had a national conference, as they call it. They also did the same in Benin Republic, and that was what ushered in constitutional rule. Even though since then, there were 2 or 3 military coups in Niger Republic, even before the present one. But they always also restore sometimes quickly. Like in 1999, when they overthrew the military regime, they restored constitutional rule within 9 months. So if only these soldiers maybe will pledge to do also a quick return to constitutional rule, the pressure will reduce.
Malam Mahmoud Jega, our president, is the chairman of ECOWAS. What are our expectations? Briefly.
President Tinubu has very big responsibilities on his hands today. He is, as you said, the chairman of ECOWAS. Nigeria is the biggest power in ECOWAS. We have all this very long border with the Niger Republic, so it is his responsibility to resist internal pressure, because there is internal pressure in Nigeria to remove the closure of borders because some people are trading and all that. So he has to resist that and insist on the ECOWAS decisions to restore constitutional rule in Niger Republic.
We'll rest it there.
Yes, and wish our president good luck. Even
this is how we do it here, sir. Would you mind holding our hands? Anything we discuss here, we say we're doing it together.
Yes.
Change the narrative, and the peace starts from here.
Yes.
Speak up and speak out. Let's change the narrative. Gender violence must stop.
It's a no-no.
God bless Nigeria. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.